Blackwood Mall has been officially dead since 2014. Following a financial collapse, the city severed the power and chained the doors. For 15 years, it has existed only as a condemned ruin of broken glass and a partially collapsed roof. Despite these records, a series of deleted videos began appearing online. The footage showed the mall in a state of impossible operation, featuring crowds of shoppers who matched the descriptions of known missing persons cases. Documentary YouTuber Mason Reed arrived at the site in November 2029 to investigate. He parked his van near the overgrown parking lot, intending to find the source of the lights and actors he assumed were behind the digital hoax. A worker at a nearby gas station offered a specific warning. He told Mason that after midnight, the mall provides what he called second chances. He urged Mason to stay away from the building once the sun went down. Mason treated the warning as a local legend. He prepared his cameras to debunk the mystery, relying on logical explanations for a phenomenon that locals claimed operated outside the laws of reality. Shortly before midnight, the freezing rain stopped and a heavy silence settled over the parking lot. At 12 a.m., the mall's infrastructure activated. The parking lot light ignited, and the gold neon of the mall's logo glowed against the darkness. Hundreds of people and cars materialized instantly. Families and teenagers walked toward the entrance, behaving as if the mall had never closed. Mason followed them inside, where a security guard in a pristine uniform handed him a directory. The guard offered a single instruction: don't miss closing. The recorded footage documented a physical overwrite of the building's decay. Mason was now inside a functioning ecosystem that ignored the world outside. The interior of the mall appeared in perfect condition, locked in the aesthetic of the late 1990s. Every storefront was open, and the halls were filled with the sound of pop music and the smell of the food court. The crowd displayed chronological inconsistencies. Shoppers wore 90s windbreakers alongside modern sneakers, and the clocks on the walls displayed varying dates from across the last 3 decades. In the stores, the transactions were based on loss. A man bought a camcorder containing footage of a son he hadn't seen in years. A woman in the toy store held a stuffed animal belonging to a child who was no longer with her. The mall anchors its visitors through their own unresolved regrets. By providing an impossible marketplace for grief, it ensures that those who enter stay by their own choice. The crowd moved toward an escalator leading to a 3rd floor that does not exist on the mall's blueprints. This level was labeled the Memories Department. This floor contained reconstructed rooms from childhood homes. Inside, visitors sat with deceased relatives who appeared as if they had never left. Mason's sister, Emma, who died 8 years earlier, appeared in one of the displays. She looked exactly as she had the last time he saw her. The guilt Mason felt over her death was replaced by the immediate comfort of her presence. He sat with her for over an hour, his focus on the investigation entirely lost to the simulation. The psychological hold broke looking into a store mirror. Emma had no reflection. In her place stood a dark silhouette with an impossibly wide smile. The entity uses the victim's deepest loss to keep them from leaving. Once a visitor accepts the simulation as reality, they no longer seek the exit. At the 3:33 a.m. announcement, the atmosphere shifted. The lights dimmed, and the shoppers stopped their activities, turning toward Mason with a predatory stillness. Near the corridor to the exit, Mason found a wall covered in thousands of photographs. These were the missing persons from the internet rumors, each stamped with the words, "Permanent Resident." The mall's layout began to change. Hallways led back to where they started, and the escalators moved in reverse, blocking the path to the ground floor. On the mall's security monitors, Mason saw footage of himself dated 2044, showing him still inside the building, decades into the future. This diagram shows a standard timeline for the year 2029. If a visitor remains past the deadline, their timeline snaps. They are severed from the outside world and pulled into an infinite loop, repeating the same night forever. By incorporating visitors into its own timeline, the mall uses them to fill its corridors. They become the permanent residents seen on the wall, providing the presence that sustains the anomaly cycle. Mason ran through a service corridor behind a clothing store, heading for the loading docks as the walls of the mall began to warp. The entity blocked the final door, using Emma's voice to beg him to stay. Refusing, the disguise glitched, revealing a featureless, empty-eyed face underneath. Mason used a fire axe to break the chains on the loading dock doors, stumbling out into the freezing air just as the clock struck 3:33 a.m. Behind him, the lights cut out instantly. The cars and shoppers vanished, leaving only the dark, silent shell of the abandoned building. Most of Mason's footage was lost to corruption, but a final comment appeared on his video from an account named after his sister. It told him that his favorite jacket was back in stock. The physical site remains a ruin, but the anomaly persists. It continues to reach out through the digital landscape, looking for the next person searching for a way to fix the past.